Welcome back, it's me, Lou. Alright, so for today's video, once again, we're going to jump back into the time machine and travel way back when, and we're going to take a look at some older 12-inch Boba Fett action figures. Alright, so to celebrate the release of the Book of Boba Fett on Disney+, I'm very excited about that new show. I thought it'd be fun to just take a look at some of the more unique 12-inch Boba Fett action figures I have in my collection. And these three action figures came to mind. So let's take a look at this star-studded lineup. Alright, so on our left, we have a 12-inch, I'm not sure if this was made by Kenner or Hasbro. I want to say this might have been when after Hasbro bought out Kenner. This is the 12-inch electronic Boba Fett, I believe, and I want to say this came out maybe in 1998. This figure over here in the middle, this handsome devil, this is a custom Boba Fett figure that I made. I believe I used two different figures to make them. I want to say the base body is actually this figure, but the head is taken off a 12-inch Jango Fett, and there's a lot of modifications done to his clothing and also his body, I think, and there's some modifications to his armor, I believe. And this guy over here, this is the main event. This is the original Kenner 12-inch Boba Fett from 1979. This is my childhood toy, and years ago I found it in my garage. It was broken, it was beat to hell, and I did my best to kind of like restore it and customize it and paint it up to like a color scheme that I'd be happy with. So this is a much beloved figure in my collection, and I'm going to have a lot of fun talking about this guy. Alright, so let's get started. Let's start off with this guy all the way here on the left. Alright, let's move these guys aside. So I want to say this was released in 1998, I think. My memory's kind of shoddy. I was in college around that time. So I believe this was produced either by Kenner or Hasbro after Hasbro acquired Kenner. If you could clarify that in the comments below, I'd appreciate it. I don't remember when Hasbro acquired Kenner, but there's a period of time when I think the Power of the Force figures that came out in the mid-90s still had the Kenner label on them. And at some point, Hasbro acquired Kenner, and all the Kenner labels were swapped out with Hasbro labels. So I can't remember if this is a Hasbro branded toy or a Kenner branded toy. This was the second attempt at making a 12-inch Boba Fett figure, at least post 1995. I believe in maybe 96 was the first 12-inch Boba Fett figure. I remember that being a really hot item. Collectors really wanted that figure. One of the downsides to the action figure was that the head was way too small. And then they corrected it, a couple years later when they released this guy. I remember purchasing this figure at KB Toys. I don't remember the price exactly. I want to say anywhere between $25 to maybe $30, I think. And what made this 12-inch figure different than the previous release is that this one was electronic. So if you reached underneath his left arm, there's like a button here, and if you press it, it talks. So there's a couple of different sound bites. Let me see if the microphone will pick this up.
What if he doesn't survive? Put Captain Solo in the cargo hold.
Yeah, so that was really cool. It's pretty neat that he had, you know, that electronic function and he could talk. Immediately when you held this guy in your hand, his body type felt a little bit different than the other 12-inch figures because I believe he was a little bit burlier in the chest, just so he could accommodate the added electronics and the battery pack. The likeness is pretty spot on for, you know, a 12-inch Boba Fett. You know, that's a toy. Now I get confused with Boba Fett. I know there's different versions of his costume in the movies. I don't remember which jetpack is which because there's the all green one and then there's the multicolored one. I know there's you know, differences in his uniform when it comes to his gauntlets. Like this one has the green gauntlets. So I don't know if this is specific to Jedi. I don't know if this is specific to Empire. So if you could clarify that, you know, leave a comment down below. This guy came with the Wookie braids, as you can see here. He has these pouches. He has his knee pads. He has his utility devices that are in his pockets, and it's kind of weird because they're actually sewn in, so you can't pull out these tools. This just shot out. His jetpack has the missile fires out. Here's the button. You press it, and it shoots out. In terms of articulation, his head rotates. So these older 12-inch figures, they don't do a whole lot. You know, they're not as articulated as even some of the smaller action figures that we get today. So his arms can rotate, although it's kind of like hindered by the cloth. His arms could go out, I believe, a little bit. His elbows swivel, and then they also bend. His wrists are articulated. And I believe this one does not have a swivel waist. His legs could kick up. They could kick out. So he could do the splits. His knees bend. It's kind of ratcheted so you can actually feel the indents. And I want to say his ankles are articulated also. You know, so yeah, this was a cool figure at the time, and I still like this toy a lot. I misplaced his gun. His gun is somewhere in storage, so I don't have that on me right now. But yeah, great toy. Makes me really wish that Hasbro would continue the tradition of making 12-inch action figures. But they've passed on that duties to like third-party companies, like, you know, like Sideshow and Hot Toys and stuff. All right, so that's this guy. All right, so up next we have this fella right here. So this is a custom 12-inch Boba Fett. I made him from two different figures. So the base body is actually this guy. So it shares the same base body. The armor is the same. Now, what I did here is I took the head off of a 12-inch Jango Fett, and I did a head swap. So I swapped the head onto here. Luckily, the neck was a nice fit, so I didn't have to do any modifications. I think all I did was boil the head so it was like soft and spongy, and I just mounted it onto the neck post, so the head fit. And the proportions are decent. The head, it looks a little big, but you know, all the 12-inch figures had wacky proportions to begin with. And to solve the problem of the helmet, I took this guy's helmet and then I cut. Now, luckily for me, this helmet is actually hollow on the inside. And then I took the gamble of cutting out the bottom of the helmet here. And I made a large enough hole. And I was very lucky because this head was the perfect size for this helmet. So you could put it on like that. You know, it's like a perfect fit. It fits like a glove. It's not too big. It's not too small. It doesn't float around. It doesn't move. And it doesn't, like, press down so hard that it, like, smudges the nose or anything. It's like a complete perfect fit. It boggles my mind. So that was, like, I got really lucky on that. The only downside is that, you know, his neck isn't fully covered. So his neck and part of his chin might be exposed if it's viewed at the wrong angle or if I don't put the helmet down all the way. So like this guy, this shares the electronic body, I believe. So I think if you press underneath, yeah, it still has all the electronics. Okay, so one thing I also did to change up this custom here as opposed to the original figure, I painted the gauntlets red. I don't remember if this is supposed to like be indicative of like Empire Boba Fett or Jedi Boba Fett. And for some reason, I don't know why I did this. I must have lost the original hands or something, or maybe I used the hands somewhere else. But I think I had to substitute G.I. Joe hands, and I didn't have any like full fingered gloves. I just had these open like fingered gloves. So that's kind of like, it's not accurate at all, but I don't know. I don't really care. This guy has a custom made Wookie braid. So this is custom. One thing that this guy is missing is that on top of Boba Fett's flight suit and underneath his armor, he kind of has like this white flak jacket underneath here. So I kind of made that here. As you can see, there's a white flak jacket underneath his body armor. His flight suit, I actually recolored it. This flight suit's a very light green, and Boba Fett's flight suit's actually kind of like a weird, like light bluish gray. So then I dyed this in like a light blue gray kind of like mixture. And I got the different color. It's not 100% accurate, but it's close enough. And I think besides that, that's all the custom stuff that's done to it. So for me, this represents Boba. Probably, if you remove the helmet, you know, it's a much younger Boba Fett than what we see in the Book of Boba Fett. In the Book of Boba Fett, I believe that takes place, I think like 5 or 7 years after Jedi. And in the Book of Boba Fett, you know, Boba Fett's, he looks like really worn down and beat to hell. He's bald. He has all sorts of scars. So for me, this Boba Fett is probably falls somewhere, you know, I want to say maybe 5 years out from Revenge of the Sith. So you're looking at a guy that, I don't know, this look here, I kind of imagine him maybe like somewhere in between Revenge of the Sith to A New Hope. You know, maybe placing him in his early to mid 30s, if I'm doing my math right. So this is what, you know, Boba Fett might look like, you know, like a few years prior to Rogue One. So that's what I kind of imagine in my head. All right, let's get these two out of the way. And lastly, we have this. This is one of my pride and joys in my toy collection. It's the original 1979 Kenner 12-inch Boba Fett action figure. As you can see here, this is a custom. I found this guy in my garage a long time ago. This was like a lifetime ago. He was in my garage. He was broken. He was beat up. He was missing all sorts of accessories. But I was like hell-bent on like restoring him. So I took a few liberties when I restored him. For one, his left arm was broken, and this kind of shows how bootleg I was. Looking back at it now, there's so many different ways I could have fixed this elbow, because it broke at the elbow joint. But for some reason, back in the early 2000s, I thought the best way to fix this elbow joint was with a screw and a nut, and it sticks out like a sore thumb. You know, so in this day and age, in 2021, there's like a dozen different ways I could like actually improve upon this and fix it so it looks nicer, but I'm stubborn, and I'm just going to leave this horrible looking screw and nut in place just to remind me of the time I had to fix this toy. I mean, it works, but it just looks horrid. You know, this nut just protrudes so far out, and the screw is like this so visible. I repainted him. I colored his body here white. It's kind of a little weathered. Repainted his helmet so it matches, you know, Boba Fett's helmet a lot better than the original toy did. The rangefinder still works. And this toy had a weird function. Like, if you look, I'm not sure what this was. It was like a peephole or something. You'd look through the back of his head. And then maybe, I think there was like a magnifying glass on the other side. That's why there's this hole here. I made this cape for Boba Fett. Added some battle damage to his jetpack. So his jetpack had like a grapple hook here with a string. That's why there's a hole here. But I lost the hook and I lost the string, so I don't know where they're at. This guy, if I remember correctly, I think his hands were missing or broken. So I had to like take hands off of like a 12-inch G.I. Joe and repaint them gray, and just like I had to screw them onto his forearms. I remember I had to clean this guy off. He was all filthy, and I remember taking a toothbrush and just constantly scrubbing to get all the grime and dirt off of him. But yeah, this was my childhood toy. I was probably at least 3 years old when I had this, so I don't have any memories of playing with it specifically, but I do remember owning it when I was a kid. And I remember being so ecstatic when I found this in my garage. It was like in a box or something, and it was like with a bunch of other broken toys, and I found this and I was so happy. And I'm like, I'm gonna fix this guy up, and I did. All right, so yeah, that's my fond memories of my Boba Fett action figures, or at least the larger scaled ones. Okay, so let's close off this video. Once again, my name is Lou. If you're new to my channel, welcome. If you're a returning if you are a returning viewer or subscriber, thank you so much for your likes, comments, and support. I'm getting a little tongue-tied, and as usual, I'm losing my voice, so just forgive me on that. I hope you found this somewhat insightful and informative, and if anything, I hope it inspires you to like go into your closet or go to your parents' attic and just hunt down your old toys and just relive some of your old memories of either playing with them or, you know, the memories of when you first got them. Alright, so until the next video, be safe, take care of yourself, and most importantly, be happy, and I will see you soon. Alright, later.